Okay, record. It's Reviewer TV. We're here with Allison Andrews. Allison Andrews from San Diego Fashion Week. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for meeting. I guess we just recently had your 10th anniversary San Diego Fashion Week, and it looked huge. I didn't attend, but I should have because I saw it on Facebook, and it looked like just a huge gala downtown at the San Diego Harbor. Where was it exactly this year?
So we had our locations, we had 5 nights of events, and they were all around San Diego downtown and Coronado, but our main runway shows, the iconic runway shows for Fashion Week San Diego, were at the Broadway Pier.
Oh wow.
And that's our favorite venue. It's ideal for the type of production we put on.
It's a big place, like a ship hangar or something.
It's a cruise ship terminal. Yes, wow. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's our runway is over 100 feet long. It sits thousands of people. We had about 3,000 come through each night.
Really?
Yeah, it was incredible. And that's actually not one of our biggest years. We've had more in the past in attendees, but still.
There or somewhere else?
At that venue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many designers did you have, and how many models do you have typically?
So
this
year our final numbers came in, because I know we talked about that earlier.
Yeah,
we ended up having 128 models.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a lot of bodies just to think about that backstage.
And you organize everything?
Everything, start to finish, from making sure there's toilet paper to stewards for the cocktails to the actual
essentials,
the garments coming down the runway. Yeah, everything.
How do you find designers?
They find us, which is nice at this point. We have an application which is live right now. So if you are an aspiring designer or want to be part of a traditional Fashion Week, you fill out the paper application, then we review it.
At the website?
On the website, yeah, it's just a PDF. Fill it out, email it back, scan it back, whatever you need to do to get it to us. You can even snail mail it if you have to. And then we review it, and then from there, we will schedule a phone interview. And then usually after the phone interview, the last part is meeting with the whole team for like a face-to-face interview. And then we make our selection.
And are they mostly from the San Diego area?
What was really thrilling this year was almost every single one of our designers was from San Diego originally. They might have moved to Los Angeles, and there was 2 of them in that case, but San Diego is their home city and their family, and they're tied very deeply here. So if you count those 2 that are LA-based businesses currently, but originated in San Diego, then everybody that showed this year was from San Diego, which is really incredible.
How many designers did you say you had?
21.
21, okay. How many of those out of that were from San Diego?
It would have been 19.
19, okay.
That are based and working, but every single one of them, even the 2 that are based in Los Angeles right now, they were born and raised in San Diego and have family here. So technically they're all San Diegans.
And you're from Orange County, right?
I'm originally from Orange County, yes.
What brought you down here to San Diego to start Fashion Week? Or what brought you down here to San Diego? What made you want to do it in San Diego? Other than being here.
Yeah, no, I knew growing up in Orange County, I hated it. I hated growing up in Orange County.
No beach ball?
It's not that. I love the beach. I still live by the beach. I would die if I wasn't next to the ocean. It's funny, I'm not a surfer girl, but I've never not lived by the water. I love the water. It's so calming. It's my place. Mm-hmm. But no, I hated Orange County because there's no center of downtown. There's no center of commerce. Mm-hmm. So you don't have that influx of cultures. I was in Huntington Beach, okay. But there's no central downtown.
Not in Main Street?
No, there's Main Street Huntington, but like downtown San Diego, downtown Los Angeles, downtown San Francisco, downtown Manhattan, Chicago. Most cities have a hub, and that's where you get a mix of cultures and business and creative arts and a wide body of people that bring their influences and their personal take on life. And when you don't have that, you get very much a divided culture, and you get a very subpopulation of the culture, and that's what Orange County is. We used to joke that if you were, west of the 405, it was like Wonder Bread white, and if you were east of the 405, depending on which area, you were either Little Saigon or Tijuana. That's terrible. That wasn't cool. I hated growing up there. I loved when I was a kid when we'd go to LA or we'd go to San Diego. I grew up coming to Encinitas a lot, which is hilarious, but now this is where I live. But I loved coming down because you had more culture and more stimulation, and I really thrived off of that even young. I really enjoyed that. I like eating wide varieties of food, and I listen to extremely eclectic music. I consider myself very progressive and very open-minded, so I do well in that type of environment. And I'm also very inspired by it. If everything's the same, it's very boring to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm lackluster. I need those different influences to keep me stimulated.
Fashion is kind of good that way, in that it kind of blends different cultures, and every season, every trend is something new from maybe different parts of the world or different influences people have.
Oh my gosh, their background, anything, yeah.
What is fashion like? If you could define fashion, let's say, I was going to say 20 words or less, but how about 10 words or less? What is fashion? I said we were going to get a little meta.
I know. See, that's the analytical side of me. I can either get the lofty, like, spiritual side, or I can give you the analytical side. The first gut reaction I had is it's the world's largest employer. That's fashion.
Okay.
That's the business
side. So it's
side.
an industry.
It is. I mean, or I can get very spiritual and lofty with you
Sure.
and say it's an idea. You know, fashion's an ideal that you present to the world.
How so?
Of who you are. I mean, literally it says who you are, you know, from your accessories to your glasses, to your watch, to your shoes, to your bag, to your fanny pack, to my purse, you know, to the coffee I'm holding in my hand, you know. All of it brands me as a human being and says and identifies to you my likes, my interests, who I am, who I'm not. I mean, think of high school. High school is the best example of that. You know those are your geeks. You know that's the preppy kids. You know that's your gothic kids. You know that's your emo kids. You know that's your surfer crew. That's your jocks. And you do that from basically aesthetics. Nobody has deep conversations with those people about what they love or don't love and what their views on life are. You're totally judging them by their outer appearance.
What was your, I'm going to check make sure the camera's rolling still. What was your earliest experience with fashion? Like, you know, going back in Allison's childhood memory, what was your first awareness of this is fashion, this is what I should look like, or this is what I should wear, this is the label the brand that I should seek, ask my parents to buy me for Christmas, my birthday?
Yeah.
What was your first impression?
I actually didn't become a label whore, which is the industry term. I didn't become a label.
It's a technical
term. It is at this point. I didn't become that way actually until much older. I'd say like the last 10 years, maybe 5 even. Honestly, maybe 5. But as a kid, my first take on fashion, you know, I grew up with a single mom. We grew up in an apartment. So for me, I think it was just being able to fit in and be accepted by a wide variety of my peers. Where we grew up was a very affluent area of town, but we were far from affluent. So I think just being able to blend in and be accepted was the most important thing. I remember one incident where I had just whatever backpack, you know, Target, whatever May company at that time, whatever backpack my mom picked up for the school year.
You were judged for that.
And yeah, and it wasn't a JanSport backpack, and I will never forget it. And it like ruined my whole school year. I felt like I was like such a loser because I didn't have this stupid JanSport backpack. And you know the funny thing is I'm such a sentimental goofball. I still have that damn backpack once I got it. It was a black one with like leather suede brown trim, and it actually would be super chic. If I pulled it out right now, people think I'm like super hip, like a hipster. Yeah, it's very cool. I still have that stupid thing because it was so important as a kid, you know. But no.
Mine was OP. I remember OP.
That was huge.
Yeah, because I was like, you know, back that was like maybe in 7th grade, I think. Back in like the late 70s or mid to late 70s.
Yeah, OP was a big brand for a long time. Even in the 80s, they kept that going.
This skateboarding you had to have, it was a GNS deck with Road Rider wheels and Bennett trucks.
Oh, that's funny.
For skating, you had to have that. That was like and I scored that. Like, you know, my parents bought me that for Christmas.
That's nice. I remember when I got a gravity longboard, and that was awesome because I could keep up with the boys because I'd pump that thing like twice and I'd go faster than them and be able to keep up. Yeah.
Strong legs.
Yeah. That was cool. See, I was more on the skater side of Huntington Beach than surfer side, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that whole area, I mean, it was very skate.
That's what it is. Action sports, yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do to relax now, other than be with family and hang out at home in your sweatpants?
God, can't beat that. I love to travel, and it doesn't have to be amazing. I just like to see the world and explore it. So even just to get away like this weekend, we went to Lake Arrowhead, and it was just lovely to be in the mountains and just have no Wi-Fi and terrible cell service, and just unplug and just be in nature and hang out. I love to garden. I love to read. I love holding old books. Like, I actually like to tangibly read, not just a Kindle or something. And I never get to read anymore with a toddler and work. So that's a definite treat of relaxation, getting to read. And I like cooking. Kind of like a domestic goddess right there. Garden, cooking, family.
Classic domestic goddess. Awesome.
My husband might disagree with all of that.
I'm sure you would. What about different, you say you like to travel, what about different cities? Los Angeles, I saw on Facebook that you were in LA recently for some sort of Halloween party.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is there any other fashion industry things that go on in LA or different cities that you kind of bring into play?
Yeah, I played at two of the biggest hubs in North America, Los Angeles and New York. I try to get to New York at least once a year. I'm lucky if I can do twice, but for sure once a year.
For what?
I try to go during either market season, not during their fashion week, because it's usually a couple weeks before mine.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're a traditional fashion week, so we all kind of hit the same time. It usually goes Paris, Milan, New York, us, then Los Angeles.
Is that because they're all trying to sell fall at the same time? Mm-hmm. Is that right? Before the big splurge of sales?
Yeah, so the fashion industry is going through a huge overhaul right now, and we're all just trying to navigate it. But used to be what would happen is you would show at a fashion week what's coming for the next season, because then it would allow the time for the retailers, the buyers, to see it presented on bodies, say, oh, I think that would look good in my store, oh, I like that for my store, place the order, then that designer or manufacturer have time to make the garments and ship them to your store, and by the time they hit your store floor,
in spring,
that's what's ready for sale.
Okay.
It's because fashion is like bread. No one wants to buy stale bread, right? So you gotta bake it knowing it's gonna sell. It's kind of, fashion works the same way. So traditionally fashion weeks worked this way, where you would see something. So if you saw it in the fall, like my runway shows, it'd actually be for spring, summer. And when you go to a spring, summer show, it'd actually be for the fall merchandise. But now with the internet and the general consumer behavior that we have in our current marketplace, which I love, and I wouldn't change it for the world, I think it's fantastic. People want it now. So, like, a lot of what we saw this year at Fashion Week San Diego was actual garments for fall, ready to buy right then and there. There was no delay. So if you saw it off the runway, you could literally buy it that Sunday, the last day of Fashion Week San Diego at our annual trunk show. So it's interesting. Some fashion weeks are still trying to showcase what's to come, but then they might piece in some accessories or purses or handbags or watches or belts that you could actually currently buy right then. And they're called immediates.
I guess in the industry, you were saying that the industry has been going through some upheaval. Maybe you could elaborate on that. But I was thinking, is it because of the way fashion clothes are manufactured? And a lot of it is being like, it's not locally. Shoes aren't made in Italy anymore too much, or clothes aren't made in France, or the really high fashion stuff. They ship it out to Thailand or Singapore. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that.
Not about cheap labor.
It's not about cheap labor. It's just the buyer. It's the consumer. Think about yourself right now. If you see something and go, okay, I want that, you can go on Amazon, and if you have Amazon Prime, in 24 hours it's going to be at your doorstep. So now imagine going to a fashion week, having this consumer behavior and power that you're now accustomed to as the consumer, and now being told, oh, you like that jacket? You just thought you have to wait 3 months. You're going to be like, no, I'm going to go find a knockoff version of it, or no, I'm going to go find it somewhere else. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so now instead of designers showing things that are meant to be coming, they're now having to kind of move that time scale up a lot quicker than what historically you would do as a best business practice. Now those business practices are being changed because it's 100% because of the consumer power. And also with that, to your point about labor and manufacturing, that has affected some of the industry. Like you'll see brands that really promote in their branding and their whole platform of the fact that they're local now and they're organic or fair trade, and that also has affected consumer behavior. I mean, I myself am vegan, I don't eat GMOs, I'm organic. I'm that freak in the grocery store aisle that, if it doesn't have 20 labels on it that are all my type of labels, I'm not buying it, so.
How long have you been vegan?
Since I stopped breastfeeding my kids.
Really?
Yeah.
That's probably your kid's not vegan then.
No.
But I know, so it's been like your child's pretty young, so
A couple months.
okay.
But
So
prior to her, she's such a puppet master. Prior to her, I was vegetarian. I'd still eat cheese. I don't eat much dairy, but I love cheese, like a really good cheese. I would love a cheese.
You never eat meat?
Not my thing. Even as a kid, just not my thing.
Right.
I'd eat fish. I went from kind of pescatarian to vegetarian.
Okay.
I was vegetarian for about 15 plus years, sometimes pescatarian, depending on what was going on. And then had my baby, and all I wanted was filet mignon and burgers and hot dogs, and it was gross. I couldn't get enough of it.
Really?
My cholesterol was so high, I got denied life insurance when we went to get it for my baby.
No way.
Yes, because of all the meat I consumed while pregnant with her. It just shot my cholesterol through the roof.
Wow.
So anyways, long story short, that's a fun, interesting personal fact about me. But now
Yeah.
the pendulum has swung, and I'm completely vegan, and I love it.
So you know what it's like to experience the satisfaction of meat, good meat, filet mignon, just having some.
Oh yeah, and I appreciate culinary arts, even if it's something I wouldn't eat. I can respect the craftsmanship that went into going into it. If it is something that is cared for and presented with that mentality.
Sure.
But not my cup of tea, literally.
Well, you're so nice and then I can see why it works for you being vegan.
Thank you. I'll take it.
What about the other aspects of the fashion business that you might be attracted to? Are you only involved or only want to be involved in show presenting, or do you think you'll ever get your own label? Have you ever been working for a label before, a designer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's where you got your knowledge.
Yeah. So my parent company, my first business, is APA Business Consulting. And that actually owns Fashion Week San Diego, and that consulting firm this month of November turns 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I had it 4 years prior to even starting Fashion Week San Diego.
That's your company, the CEO?
My baby. It's a corporation, but I have no partners. It's me, myself, and I.
You have an employee that you said, right?
I do. I love her. Oh my god.
So
I always joke she's not allowed to go anywhere. I'd find her. She can never leave me. If she leaves, seriously, if she leaves me, I'm out too. She makes my life amazing. At this point, I'm spoiled by her. I could not do it without her. Samantha, shout out to you. You're amazing.
Samantha.
Dwarf.
Okay.
She's thebomb.com. She's a new mommy too, so it's fun now. We have our kids and we work. It's the whole thing. Yeah, it's a whole thing. But that consulting business, you mentioned I was in LA. I've been in LA every week for a minimum of 1 to 2 days for the last, it's going on 6 weeks straight.
Downtown Fashion District?
Mm-hmm. And what I'm doing is I'm working with clients. So I only take about 5 clients a year. Right now I have 3 and I'm full. I'm not taking any more because they're pretty big projects. And they're all different. One is launching a new patent pending swimwear item for children. The other is a jewelry line that's already existent that's trying to get showroom representation and kind of get out into bigger stores and become a bigger brand that's well recognized. And then the third is a very interesting developer who came up again with another patent pending contraption for menswear. So it's very interesting. So
what kind of contraption?
It's a tie, but I can't say too much.
Okay.
I got it. It's a menswear accessory. It's like a necktie. But the funny thing is, so I'm dealing with menswear accessory, women's accessory, and children's wear. And they range, and sometimes, and now they're all they're all manufacturing, they're all making these goods, these products, and they're having me as their consultant to help them in different areas, whether it's, helping them find the textiles through the textile mill that they're looking for that specific fabric, to manufacturing it here or abroad, pricing that out, to helping them with their patent and working with a lawyer and doing logo and branding and marketing, and then just general sales and marketing plans to help develop this business so it can be sustainable and they can actually make some money and follow their passion. So it's very stimulating. It's a lot of work. I deeply care for my clients when I get invested in them. I take them on as my own project. And I mean, after going through that recession, which we talked about in 2007, 8, 9, basically 10.
Oh, right. We mentioned before we started rolling that there was 1 year you skipped.
Yeah. I mean, my heart is in these entrepreneurs. I mean, like I said, I've seen people have to give up everything. And it's like the biggest defeat of their life, these hanging heads because they didn't make it work. So when I take on my clients, I'm different than most consultants. I'm extremely hands-on, and I deeply care about what they're trying to do, and I'm also very cautious. And I think I'm actually a better consultant now because I'm so cautious and I understand the value of their dollar and where it's coming from. I mean, some of my clients literally take second mortgages out on their homes to follow this dream. So I mean, there's a lot on the line here. They've quit great jobs. They've taken big risks, cashed out 401ks. I mean, the whole gamut, total entrepreneur spirit. But those are my people that I work with. Those are my people. I take it very seriously, and I take my job as a consultant extremely seriously. And it's not even the right title. I hate the word consultant because it sounds very hands-off, pay me, and I'll speak for 5 minutes and you're out the door. That's not what I do. I mean, I'm extremely hands-on. I mean, I've gone to LA, I physically walk into the place, make introductions.
Like being a life coach.
Kind of, but for business, I guess, yeah. And I can't help. I'm a caring person, so I do care.
Well, the people in this business, like any of yours, a lot of the people at the top they're so talented and bright, they could make a lot more money in Wall Street. A lot of them are like ex-stockbrokers. They tried that for a while, they were even good at that, and they didn't like that. So they went to Hollywood and got into movies or fashion, and
It's like that with the creative arts. Every one of my clients are wickedly smart.
Mm-hmm.
Wickedly smart. They've all had very successful careers. They've all done very well. They're at a place where strategically they can take this risk and there wouldn't be a lot of loss other than just their time, their money, and their effort. But still, that's not an option. But all of them, I mean, the one woman was at the top level of her brokerage firm. The other one what'd she do? She was a doctor. I mean, come on. And then the other gentleman had his own a slew of car auto body shops and had them all over Las Vegas and Nevada. So they're all very, very savvy and very highly intelligent people. It's not like they just drew something and said, this is pretty, let's go start a fashion business. Most of my clients are pretty incredible people. I truly enjoy working with them too, because I learn from them too in different ways. Yeah.
Who's your favorite designer right now?
Oh gosh.
Can you name names? Give me 2 or 3 names that you think are the most worthy out there for talking about or mentioning.
Okay.
Just currently. I mean, this is fall of 2017, so.
Okay.
You kind of hate that.
Well, I'm gonna be a little biased and say that since I do Fashion Week San Diego and I'm all about emerging brands and the entrepreneur spirit, it's obviously the theme to my whole career. I really think people need to watch Von Berry from Fashion Week San Diego. He's participated, this was his 3rd year. He brought women's wear, he started with menswear. He's just such a raw talent with a very specific viewpoint. And see, in fashion, that's probably the most challenging thing because you're not creating anything really new. A shirt's a shirt is a shirt. It's just what's your viewpoint and what is the story and how did you make it all come together to make it so unique and so creative.
How do you do that?
Right?
How does Versace or Gucci become big?
Well, Gucci, I could give you the history. Gucci's actually my favorite fashion house. So if you're asking me about a label, I'm a Gucci girl. I'm an Italian fashion house all day long.
So how did that happen?
And for me?
For them?
For them?
How did they get big?
They started, I want to say, in some ridiculous time period, like 18-something, making leather gloves and belts and selling them on the street as a vendor in Florence and Frenzy. And best construction, best leather, and just had a great following, and it grew from there into the empire it is today. All of them started that way. I mean, Chanel was the same thing. Literally, Chanel started with a woman saying, F skirts, I want to wear pants and a hat. That's Chanel. Now look at the empire. And obviously things happen as all businesses. The founders and the people who originally created it deceased, retire. It makes enough money that now you get a board of directors, and then it becomes, it's a business now. The hard part is trying to keep some of that original essence of the designer passion and viewpoint. So you'll see them bring in other designers like Tom Ford, or he was with Gucci for a moment, or Karl Lagerfeld with Chanel, to keep kind of those different viewpoints and keep it stimulating and fresh and keep it still authentic to the designer's eye, not this just commercial, mass-branded, mass-produced, frivolous thing. And fashion is not frivolous. That's one of my favorite things to educate people on. It is so far from frivolous.
How so?
Well, it's the #1 world's employer, like I told you. So if you want a job, yes, fashion.
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 Not defense.
Fashion.
Not medicine or health.
Fashion.
Okay.
So think about it. Let's just start with one example. Okay, and imagine all the jobs and all the designated industry just to this one component of fashion. So, planting and harvesting. Cotton farmers. Their whole crops get sold to a fashion textile plant. So you have all those farming agriculture jobs, right? In just this one scenario. And I can do this for multiple things, then you'll see the impact that this has.
Okay.
So cotton farmers. All those jobs, fashion jobs. From there, it goes to a textile mill to get spun, so it can actually be used and not raw cotton. All those jobs. From there, from the textile mill, now unusable fabric, it goes to a dye house or a print house, so it can be this beautiful cream color, right? And different spuns. That's a whole other job. Then from there, that piece of textile either goes to a manufacturing plant so that they can use it to develop their line, or it goes to a fabric store, or it goes to a high-end design house because it was specially made for Gucci. Jobs. And when I say jobs, I'm talking sales clerk, office manager, trash picker-upper, whatever, okay, jobs.
Okay.
Then from there, after that textile being in use, now it's going to be made. So that's cut and sew, that's the manufacturing. Everybody who's going to cut and sew it and package it and put it in the packaging and put the label on it. All those are little jobs.
A lot of checks being written.
Oh my goodness. This is a huge industry.
Yeah.
I mean, this is trillions of dollars. This is the world's largest employer. And when I'm saying this example, we haven't even gotten to the store yet. This isn't even to the consumer. The consumer is way down at the end of this table.
Wow.
I mean, I can literally take you through this chain. But you're talking about that scenario I gave you, we didn't even get halfway to the end of the line here. But you can see where I'm going, why it's the world's largest employer.
Okay.
That could have happened in Thailand. That could have happened in North America. That could have happened in Canada. That could have happened in Australia. That could have happened in Japan. This is happening everywhere. Finland, Denmark, Ireland, that whole everything.
Yeah, just thinking about the local area that we're in, all the few blocks of shops we're in, there's so many fashion clothing boutiques and clothing
And that's
stores.
the end use.
Yeah.
You're not even talking about the chain it took to get that shirt to hang up in that store.
Getting back to designers, you mentioned one designer that you like, but what about local fashion culture? Like we're in Southern California, we're in San Diego, and seeing this. What about surf culture?
That's great.
Surf. Do you use a lot of that in San Diego Fashion Week, or is it more high fashion, haute couture, or whatever it is? I mean, is it what's the main for us, the main interest of San Diego Fashion Week currently?
Yeah,
when it comes
so
to fashion?
Fashion Week San Diego, the way that it's recognized by the world industry, which we are a world recognized fashion week, how we got to be there is we play to emerging brands. So we're not category specific. So when I say category specific, I'm not talking about action sports or bathing suits or gowns. We don't care about what category. We care that you're an emerging brand, that you're someone who does 1 million in sales or under in a year, and that you're serious. It's not like I watched Project One Way and now I'm going to be a fashion designer and go be in Fashion Week San Diego. You wouldn't even make it through the paper application. That's why we have these applications too.
When people put in their application, they send a banking statement too?
No, we're not that hardcore, but we do ask them sales numbers. We ask them how many stores they're in, what their revenue is, what current orders they have out, any purchase orders. We do ask for that, and that's pretty common of the industry. That's not anything, they have to be used to saying that. If they're a true fashion brand, that's stuff you want to talk about. It's not a negative. It's actually very positive. So that's why we can easily screen people out. I can talk to someone for 5 seconds and know if they would be appropriate to put on the runway of Fashion Week or not. And it's not because they're not good enough. I really want to clarify. It's not because they couldn't hang. Our event is it's at such a high level, and the exposure is so high, and the demand for what we're asking of these designers is so high. It's all professional bar of excellence. We're not creating anything that's not abnormal, but we play to that high professional game. So we want to make sure that the designers that come on board can do that, and do that comfortably, and be ready for it. The worst thing you can do is put somebody in a situation they can't handle, in anything in life, right? So that's really why we screen designers. It's not because what they make is not my aesthetic, or I don't like the clothing they create. That has nothing to do with it. That's just opinion. It's, can they handle the business opportunities that are going to come out of it, and be able to run with that and take that momentum and use it as a catalyst and a launching pad, because that's really what we are meant to do.
So you work with the best, for the up and coming.
The best of the up and coming. Yeah.
And before I got you sidetracked, you mentioned one name, one designer.
Yeah.
Von
Berry.
Von Berry.
He's local San Diego designer.
B-E-R-R.
He's fantastic. B like a berry. Yeah.
Okay.
VAUGHN
Okay.
BEE or BERRY. Yeah.
Okay.
Von Berry.
A couple others?
Yeah, so he's fantastic. This year's top designer was Baza, and she does beautiful gowns, which are phenomenal. And I could see her being like another Monique Louvier from Los Angeles and blowing up if she got more into bridal, and then that's a whole different market. And then last year's winner designer and local, and this year's third place winning designer, or second, no, she was third this year again, is Trita Torres. And she's fantastic because her stuff is polished, it's gorgeous, but it's ready to wear, which means you don't have to overthink about it. It's not like you have to be like, am I going to a high-end outfit? You can be like, I like it. If it's good, I can wear this to work. I can wear it to happy hour. I can wear it for this interview right now.
And these three are from San Diego?
They're all from San Diego, which is amazing. And then the last one, I'm really impressed with her constantly and in awe. I think very highly of what she's doing is Taylor Whip. And she does knitwear similar to what I'm wearing right here. This is called knitwear. And it's very modern, it's very hip. Knitwear is on the rise right now in fashion, in women's fashion especially. And she does it, and it's an art. It's honestly like a lost art.
My mom would be proud of that.
Yeah, it's a lost art, and it's on the rise, and people who understand it greatly appreciate the work that goes into knitwear, because it's something that really, it can be mass produced, it is mass produced, but its aesthetic is not that. It's very much a handmade, artisan piece of clothing. And Taylor Whip is local. She does that, and she launched this year at Fashion Week San Diego, and her momentum is just very high. And if she keeps it going, I wouldn't be shocked to see a lot come from her.
What men's fashion designers do you like currently, Allison?
Like major labels or
that you are
working with?
Developing, yeah, that you're working with, yeah.
Oh, I would say Von Berry again. I'm going to go back to him. And the reason why I think he is on mark, so to speak, in menswear specifically to your question, is because he's playing a lot with textiles that usually you don't see in menswear. So if you've seen a little bit with fashion, and this is also kind of a hot trend in fashion right now, is binary fashion. It's kind of the it word that you're hearing thrown around, binary fashion. And basically what it is it's non-gender specific clothing. So instead of going in the men's section of the store or the female section of the store, the women's section, it's in anybody's section. So a shirt that you could wear, I could wear essentially. We could wear the same thing. It's unisex. But unisex isn't sexy. It doesn't sound cool. It sounds weird. It sounds kind of, yeah.
Kind of clinical.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, binary is a little, you know, modern and progressive and funky. So it's more, binary fashion is the key term. But his menswear is menswear, but the textiles he's using, like for example, he'll use a silk and make a silk shirt. You never see men in silk shirts, unless it's like a bad 70s polyester throwback costume party. I mean, it's just not a commonly used thing.
I'm all for that, but I like women to be feminine. I want to be masculine. Yeah?
And there's nothing
I don't
wrong with
wanna
that.
give
He
up
does
anything,
too. And he does too. And that's the beauty of it. He's not trying to make men look like women, and he's not trying to make women look like men. He's just using textiles and doing the same cut for a normal man's shirt. It just happens to be a really bomb silk or a really beautiful knitwear or tweed. Which tweed, you usually don't see men in tweed jackets unless it's like a smoking jacket and they're going to go play polo or riding out in, England, or something like that. It's very iconic of that. But the way he's using it is very modern, very contemporary, and very palatable, so to speak, where you would feel comfortable wearing it as a masculine man. That's why I like him, and that's why he's one to watch, because even though he's being modern and progressive, he's doing it in a very smart, savvy way, where yes, some of the pieces on the runway are going to shake up the envelope, because that's a runway show. It's meant to kind of shake things up and put on a little bit of an entertainment, visual spectacular. But in general, his pieces, I think they're very easy for people to buy and use, and they're done meticulously. They're beautiful.
What is the most? I was going to ask, what is the most revolutionary thing happening in fashion right now? I mean, I think a few years back when Obama was president, he was kind of shaking things up a little bit, because he would appear for press briefings sometimes without a tie, and I was like, but like 3 decades ago or 4 decades ago, what was that guy's name from? He was affiliated with the Sex Pistols, and he or she had that London boutique called Sex, and they would do all the punk rock T-shirts, with the ripped up shirts, and that started that whole fashion trend, with the punk rock
Punk rock is never dead. It's always there. It's always in fashion.
But it's already happening.
It's already happened.
What's happening now that is revolutionary, according to what you've seen?
So I'm going to go back a little bit to binary fashion. I think that's very revolutionary. I think that's a whole, think about the industry right now. Imagine that if that catches on, that's going to be like whole department floors, different looking mannequins. This is big. And this is a trend you're seeing in every area. You're starting to see things that are very gender neutral, and it also is showing of the times with transgender and people being different. It's a culture. Fashion is a mirror. Fashion reflects the culture. So whenever there's shit going on politically, you're going to see fashion take that on with punk and music too. It's all art. It's all art. You're going to see that in the graffiti art, from the song that's playing on the corner to what the person's wearing. It's completely a mirror of culture. So the binary fashion and being very, also with women's empowerment and women having this big movement, which I love. I would consider myself definitely girl power. This is great because women are saying, I don't need to wear freaking a skirt. I don't need to wear always a dress. I can wear what I want to wear, So this plays to a lot of different cultural things happening with a broad stroke.
Binary.
Yes.
So it opens up more options for people.
Correct. I think it's a very, very big category, and I think it could be something very big for the industry and would be big change, because it would affect, again, the whole industry and somewhat at the end of for the consumer end use, it would be a huge game changer. For the other big trend, I would say sustainable materials. And this is something that doesn't catch on as quickly because it's very costly, it's not widely used. It's just very expensive still because it's just not out there as much. But different fibers. So for example, there's now leathers that are synthetic that are made from mushrooms, and it's incredible. And actually Tesla just announced that they're using their vegan leather in their cars. So these alternative textiles are fantastic, and they're good for the ecosystem and the economy and just in general for our world. So sustainable fibers are good, along with sustainable fibers and kind of that, area, like they're even making fiber from milk fiber. There's some really cool stuff, even recycled plastics into textiles. So that, the eco-sustainable category of fashion is incredible, and it's very scientific, but it's so cost expensive and cost prohibitive that I would love to see that grow more, because then it will become just common and relative, and then more people can use it when they're coming up with their, launching their new line. They'll think of these fibers instead of maybe cotton. So that's something that hasn't changed. 3D printing I would put in that category too. That's something else that was huge. And actually 2 years ago, we were lucky to have the 3D printed collection and one of the developers of it from Paris Fashion Week show behind the scene footage and guest speak at Fashion Week San Diego. And I can send you some names and lists and all that.
So they
photos.
3D printing clothes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All the garments. It was incredible.
Nice.
It was huge. But again, that came onto the scene, blew up, 3D printers were huge, and now it's kind of quiet again. So this whole area has been something that's been on the rise and could be a huge game changer, and it's slowly but surely trying to do it. Organic textiles hit, and that was good, and that's relative, and you can find that everywhere now. But the sustainable fibers is really, I personally, I'm in that. I would love to see that become the big game changer. Slowly but surely it's getting there, but I'd like to see more.
No fur.
No, absolutely not. That's just terrible.
Leather from animal skin.
That's terrible too.
Raising animals just slaughter for their skin.
Yeah, it's gross. It's super fucking gross.
Well, you're vegan, so you're.
I'm a huge animal fan. I'm a huge animal lover. So it's not necessary. I mean, I have heirloom pieces from my grandmother. Some furs and stuff, and they're sentimental, but they just hang in the closet.
If you could go back there and talk to your grandma, you'd convince her not to buy it.
I don't know. It was a different time period, and things were different then, and things, the environment was different, and things were used and well cared for, and not just abused in some ways.
Those poor little chinchillas.
Oh, it's gross. Yeah.
Well, if you had, if you could sit down some future industry giant, be it a model or a designer, what advice could you give? I mean, if you were gonna talk to someone who's gonna be huge in the future, what would you say?
I would say everything I say to my designers now and my models now. I would remind them just to be very aware of everything. We try to be very mindful at Fashion Week and remember the bigger picture. And I think that's really important, especially with obviously my passion points, as you know, I'm vegan, blah, 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 blah. But when you're mindful of the world you live in, you're a better steward of the world, which in my opinion makes you a better business owner. And if you're doing good business and you're doing things for the right reason, you will always make money. And I believe that to my core. I've operated my whole business. I survived the recession. I started my business at 20. I couldn't even go to a bar and order a drink, and I'm here now. I created a beautiful life for myself, but I do everything for the right reason. And it's never been the paycheck. I've never woken up and said, how much money am I going to get out of people today? It's just not the game. That's not the end game. So I think when I talk to people who want to get into fashion, remember how I said it's the world's largest employer? It's $1 trillion industry.
Everybody wants to get into fashion.
Some people want to get into it because they want the fast buck, right? They think, oh, fashion, I'll do shirts, I'll make a shit ton of money, and then I'll get out, and then I'll do something else. That's not the good business. It's not a good way to do a business. So that shouldn't be the big picture. You need to think larger. Like, what are you doing? What is your contribution? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to do anything for yourself, whether you're a musician, an artist, a reporter, an owner of a magazine, whatever you're going to do, what the fuck are you doing? Like, make it worth your time. Like, make your contribution something later that you can sit back and go, oh, that was awesome, I did that. Like, I look back and I think about all the brands and all the entrepreneurs I've been able to help and do something for and be of service to. And it's incredible. In just 10 years, I've worked with over 100 plus brands, and each of those brands are run by a designer or an entrepreneur like you and me. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to hear their stories and their passion and be a part of that journey, and that's really special. There's some people that wake up and they sit at a desk job all day doing the same menial task, not knowing what the larger impact is of what they're doing. That is purgatory to me, So at the end of the day, if you're going to do something and you're going to be in this industry, and if you're going to be a model, and if you're going to be a designer, or you're going to, develop a retail store and make a chain of retail stores, what is the big goal? What is the thing you're trying to do? If you're doing it because you think you're hot and you're a pretty face and you're skinny and you just want to make some money because you hear models make a lot of money and get to go to parties and have fun, probably not the best business plan. You probably want to recheck that, because what happens if you get pregnant? What happens if you get in a
A
car
lot of these
accident?
models do that. They don't really care about the money. They're not looking for money. A lot of them don't even want to be paid. They just want to have a good time and
And that's
be a good model.
awesome. And that's awesome. But you
Probably
should
the
get
designers
paid
too. I
too.
haven't really, I've met a few designers, and it seems like they're not really that. They either have money or come from money, or they got somebody helping them out with money, but they just want to do it because fashion is their passion.
And
You mentioned
it's true.
mindfulness.
Passion is everything.
Yeah.
Passion's everything.
But give me an example of mindfulness in the fashion business. I mean, that's kind of a semi-new term, and they were talking about, there was somebody who was doing a class on mindfulness to inmates at a state prison. I was all, what is that?
That's okay. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I'd love to sit in on that.
Yeah, it would be educational for sure, because I really, I mean, in fashion, mindfulness would be exemplified by the big picture, in that you're trying to develop a new fashion that is, unisex or a binary, or what do you?
I think it goes back
end goal,
to, I think it goes
being
back to
present
the
in the moment.
individual. I'm looking at the end goal when I say mindfulness. I'm talking about the big picture at the end of the line. Because if you're going to give your time and you're going to work on something, you should always go to what's the end goal. And I always tell my clients, and anybody in general, when you are an entrepreneur and you start something off and you go to create, you automatically have two options at the end. You're either going to sell it or you're going to close it. Selling can be your kid takes on the business, or you get investors and you become publicly traded, or you hire a CEO and now you just get a severance package and they run your company. But that's all selling, right? We all know what selling looks like. Or you're closing. Closing is, I kept my fist tight, I didn't work with anybody, I brought on new partners, and now I'm old, I'm tired, I'm retiring, I'm closing my business. Or I couldn't make enough money, I didn't develop it right, we ran out of money, we have to close by default. So you know automatically going into starting something, these are your two options. So knowing that you'd probably want to be more on the selling, because who wants to start something just to close it? That just sounds very silly. So knowing that you want to be on the selling side of things, what is the big picture of that? What are you doing? What is your legacy? What is the mindfulness behind this brand? You know, let's think of what's the bigger picture. So depending on what your hot points are, if you're somebody who, I'll keep using myself as an example because it's obvious, because I have all these hot buttons, but you know, for me, I'm vegan, I'm girl power, and I'm definitely a total hippie. I care about the environment. I'm totally the hippie my mom warned me about. It's hilarious. But, you know, at the same time...
Your mom wasn't a hippie?
No, far from it. But I, at the same time, I like nice things. I appreciate craftsmanship. I want a certain aesthetic in my life. But if I were to create a brand, right, myself, if I were going to become a fashion designer, I would probably look at using sustainable fibers, first of all. So whatever I could get my hands on, I would start with that. And that's how I would develop out my collection. From there, I'd probably work with a local manufacturer, because that's important to me. And I'd want them to be, you know, fair, you know, employees, and breaks and lunches, and just a good business with good work ethic where I manufacture. Yeah, I don't want little kids with missing fingers making my clothing, you know, getting paid 25 cents for the week. Like, that's not going to fly for me. And I would probably hire a lot of women, because I already do that, and that's just my thing. And, you know, I would work with a lot of women entrepreneurs to help me launch this, because that's where I'd want to invest my money. And my brand would probably serve a woman consumer at some point in her life where she needs whatever product I was trying to develop to fill a gap, because there is so many options out there. I don't want to be another option. I want to fill a gap, because it's again, what are you doing? So for me, I would like developing out that business, because I know I'm having an impact at each step of this evolution of this career of developing this fashion brand. I'm doing something that has a good effect for me and my value system, and for the bigger picture. Now, everybody's different, and everybody has different goals, but if I can impart one thing, I always just tell people to think about the world they're living in and others, and try to be a good person at the end of the day. Just be a fucking good person and be nice to people, you know, like, I mean, like, that's the end of the day. So if you're developing a business, develop the business with that in mind too, not just the money.
So then ethics is obviously part of mindfulness. And mindfulness is being big picture conscious and eyes on the prize and goal kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody likes what I have to say, but that's what I have to say, you know?
I've never heard that explained before, so thank you for that.
Okay.
But you're already planning Fashion Week 2018.
Yeah, it's crazy. No downtime. No downtime. It just rolls.
And it's going to be downtown again, or you don't know?
I don't know. I have a couple bids out to locations, and there's one that I'm not gonna lie, I very, very much want it to be accepted and us to meet in the middle. And then everything will fall into place from there.
And does it have to be downtown?
No.
Could be in Loya.
Could be anywhere.
Could be Rancho Santa Fe.
Could be anywhere. Could be anywhere. But I don't think for our consumer and our audience, I don't think we'll be back in La Jolla. We did that for 2 years and that was great. And I think we're ready to stay either in downtown or try other neighborhoods. But I don't see us being in Rancho Santa Fe either.
2 out of 6. Nice place, but just too far away.
Yeah.
Where were you in La Jolla?
We closed Walsh Street between Herschel and Girard. I closed a street and erected the stage, and it was pretty amazing.
When I saw you,
it was incredible.
You had something going on with that one little corner sushi shop down the corner across from the Hard Rock. Remember that? You had a little show there. Remember that? Was that 2010? When was
No,
that?
that had to be way before then, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It could have been 2000.
So remember how you were saying, you know,
before
when I was a consultant, I would do for my fashion brands little small fashion shows.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of those small fashion shows. They were great. Actually, the smaller fashion shows are a ball because they're fast, they're furious, they're easy, and you can just have a great time and less stress. Yeah, they're great. I love those guys.
What are you gonna do the next one? What is the next event you're planning?
Spring Showcase will be the next one.
Oh, really?
So we go dark as far as events. We come off Fashion Week San Diego in October, and we don't do anything until about March. March is when February, March, we look at doing something. But then Spring Showcase, that event is somewhere between March, April, or May.
And where will that be?
I can't tell you.
You can't? Oh, okay. It's a secret, huh? Secret.
See, the thing about the location is, I found, if I give people options and I say, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about this, people get preconceived notions of what they would prefer or what they think is better. If you don't say that and then I show you and you experience.
Yeah. And you don't want to jinx it either.
No, not right now.
Well, is there anything you can tell us about it?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Okay. other than it's a spring fashion thing.
So Spring Showcase, I can tell you about it. So Spring Showcase is really rad. We do this, we've done this for the last couple of years. It's a newer event in the Fashion Week San Diego kind of offerings of our events. And it's where we announce and showcase all the designers of that year. We show one look by them. So it's fast. So instead of seeing these long collections come out, you're just seeing one model, one look, and it's kind of like a taster.
Wow.
Where you can really quickly go, oh, I kind of like that designer's. Instead of, no, that one's not for me. Ooh, I love what they're doing. And it's fun, it's fast, it's one night, and it basically takes the whole runway week of the year and smooshes it into one night. So usually we have a smaller runway stage. We show one look. We have some type of entertainment going on, always something interesting.
DJ.
We always have DJs. We love our DJs. We love bands. We always have good music because I love good music. But when I say entertainment, sometimes we'll have like an amazing opera singer, or we'll have like Cirque du Soleil performers, or we'll have a rock and roll band that's pretty well known, or something cool locally and stimulating that's extra entertainment for that night, just not the fashion.
Right.
Then around the venue, what we'll have is all the designers that are participating that year will have a booth. And the reason why we started this event, instead of having like a full runway week in the spring, is because nobody knows these emerging brands, right? They're emerging brands. They're emerging, which means they're not household names. So it's really important that our consumer, our end user, gets to know these brands and interacts with them and develop their relationship with them, whatever that looks like. So by the time we get to the October runway shows, you already have some familiarity with what you're about to see. And you might even have your favorites and your ones you don't like. That's awesome. That's what fashion's about. It's like eating food. We could go to a restaurant and have the same meal, and I love it, you hate it. Fashion is the same way. That's what makes it interesting and creates a dialogue and good buzz and all that. So by Spring Showcase announcing and showing the one look on the runway, then having the designers there to interact with, it's a fantastic event. I love Spring Showcase.
And that'll be in March.
It'll either be March, April, May. We do it in one of those months. Yeah.
Okay.
Springtime. May's a little late, but it has been in May before.
And you'll announce it on your website by January, then?
Yeah, I like to have most of the details locked down for the year in January. So when we are in January, February, we can be announcing what's coming and still calling for designers. But currently, right now, my biggest priority is interviewing and starting to get the designers, people who are interested in participating next year. I'd like to get that dialed in before we get into January.
Okay. And your talent prospects can reach you at sdfashionweek.com.
FashionWeekSD.com.
FashionWeekSD.com. Remember that, kids.
Our trademark is FashionWeekSD.
Okay, that's right. Got to put the Fashion Week first.
That's right.
Worldwide.
That's right.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for the
Thank
time.
you for everything. And yeah, I appreciate your time here.
I hope you guys like it.
Well,
I hope it was entertaining.
it was very entertaining and informative. Beautiful interview. Thank you. So we're looking forward to seeing what you have cooking for
I am too.
2018.
I don't even know what it's really going to look like yet. It's fun for me. It's
That would be
still in the
exciting.
works.
Absolutely.
Thanks.